Question 44. Mendoza Streetwear, the epitome of cool on the west coast of USA, wants to test their recovery plan in the event of pre-notice via weather and executes a planned failover of their in-house developed application to their disaster recovery location in Raleigh, North Carolina. Once the planned failover was confirmed successful, an operations engineer executed an undo failover. All replication jobs are configured to retain 7 restart points, and the job has been successfully running daily for several weeks. The operations engineer discovers the restart point from 6 and 7 days ago are missing. What's the explanation? Okay, let's take a look at the answer options we have down here. The missing restart points are hidden because the undo failover is a temporary, not yet finalized state. And the root cause is that the limitation of maximum open snapshot age in vSphere of 72 hours has been triggered. Now, I would say this 72 hours is more of a recommendation than some actual maximum age, so that doesn't seem realistic. This happened because the planned failover was executed through the use of the Veeam failover plan feature. This is the expected behavior. Okay. And this happened because the planned failover was not executed through the use of the Veeam failover plan feature. Now, the last one I know is not true because when you use a failover plan, it's a normal failover, not a planned failover. And actually, there's no way to trigger a failover plan using a planned failover. So right out the gate, I'm going to say the bottom one here appears to be a distractor. This snapshot age seems to be a distractor. And this failover plan here also seems to be a distractor here. So here we could say it was because it was not, but that's not really the case either. So because we can't do it anyway, so that would mean this is basically some connection here because you should have been using this. All right, so that leaves us with some statement up here because of some undo failover or some expected behavior. So let's maybe go and take a closer look and see what happens when we do a undo failover. So let's see, Veeam with the guide undo failover. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, we'll accept the cookies. Let's scroll down a little bit. So let's see here. So basically, and maybe the first thing we should know is what actually happens here. So we have a replication job, right? And it's set to keep 7 restart points. And it's already been running for quite some time, which means that we have essentially 7 days worth of data here. Now, we triggered a planned failover. So before we even start looking at this, maybe we should start looking at a planned failover. What actually happens with a planned failover? Well, we can see here the first thing that happens is it triggers a replication job to perform an incremental run. Okay, so technically now there's going to be 8 restart points. Yeah, then at this point, basically, we have to start looking at seeing, okay, well, we only wanted 7, right? Now, then once it's done, it basically does some shutdown or power off, and then it does yet another replication run. So if we think about this fact and the fact that we had a maximum of 7, essentially those last 2 ones, well, that's changed data, right? So we're basically pushing some of the older restart points away. Now, at this point here, we would have been up to 9, but we can't really do that. So because we produce those 2 older restart points are basically getting discarded. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the fact that we did an undo failover. It was just because we had a maximum set of 7 restart points, and we decided to make 2 more, which would discard the older ones, which in turn will push these 6 and 7 days of restart points away. So I'm going to go with the fact and say this is the expected behavior.